Hey guys, it's Meredith with Pop Vintage and Home. I've got a couple little projects to share with you. I made two of these little playing card journals last weekend, which was very exciting to be able to get two things done in a weekend. And then I also created this cinch bound journal. Now, back to these little journals. These, as you can see, are made from, they're made from vintage playing cards. And I got the idea for these journals from Danielle at 11 Dancing Dandelions, one of my all-time favorite junk journal makers. I just love her style. So she had made a whole bunch of these journals like these from vintage playing cards, and they were adorable. She probably had made 30 of them, and I'm so bummed I didn't get a chance to purchase one. I was just too late to the game. Her stuff always sells so fast. But when I watched her flip through, I thought to myself, I wonder if I could make those. I've got tons of vintage playing cards, and I thought it would be a great way to start using them up. So this was my first attempt, and unfortunately, it did come out wonky. I'll show you. I don't know if you can tell, but the signatures, like I sewed them in, and they didn't come out even. So the first signature and the third signature are even, but the middle signature is slightly lower, as you can see, than the first and the third, which is a bummer, because otherwise this came out really cute. I thought I loved the playing cards, and I loved the fabric I chose for the spine. This was some vintage upholstery that I picked up at an estate sale. And the paper, it's all vintage paper. This is vintage typewriter. It's all vintage typewriter paper, actually, that I picked up at estate sales, and I just haven't trimmed the strings yet. So it was really easy. It probably took me start to finish about 2 hours to make each journal, including the time I took to pick out the fabric for the spine. So just a fun, easy, doable project, and a great way to use up a paper stash and a playing card stash. And you can see that I covered the inside of the playing cards with cardstock. So very, very simple journal. So after I did this one and kind of messed up the signatures, I decided to try again, and I made this cute little one. And Danielle, because she's so wonderfully detail-oriented and makes everything extra special, she had put little grommets in her playing card journals, and she bound hers she used seam binding. And she had done something to the seam binding to make it crinkly. So I just used a little baby rickrack here. The fabric I have on the spine, this is vintage sheet material, and Carrie the Paper Monkey sent it to me in Happy Mail. And I had a little mishap with my fabric glue, my Fabri-Tac, when I was gluing the sheet to the cards and everything. And because the sheet is a light material, the Fabri-Tac showed through and it looked ugly. So I trimmed it out with this sweet little pink daisy trim. Okay, now on the inside, I lined it with this wonderful candy stripe paper. I got this from a Walmart paper pad, and the pages, it's pinks and peach. It's just copy paper that I picked up, at estate sales. The back cover, I decided to use different cardstock, but from the same paper pack that I got this in, and I just tied it again with the little baby rickrack. And I will cut these. I don't know why I didn't. Okay, turning to this one. I needed a simpler project. I decided to do a cinch bound journal. And I picked up a vintage bingo game at an estate sale some time ago, and it came with tons of these really nice, thick chipboard bingo cards. So I decided to use the bingo cards as the front and the back cover. And at first, I was just going to make this journal to try and use up some paper with no real theme or rhyme or reason. And then I decided to bring in a theme and make it a game themed journal with the bingo card. So I put some pretty cardstock or scrapbook paper on the other side of the bingo card. I made a little like triangle corner tuck spot here and just put a Monopoly property deed, a vintage playing card, and some Milton Bradley money in here. We've got another little playing card here. I can't remember what this was from, maybe an old game of Password. And I found an ad for Monopoly in one of my vintage magazines. Got some my vintage school writing paper, graph paper, paint chip, vintage Peanuts cartoon from an old Peanuts book I picked up at an estate sale. This I got at an artist estate sale in February. These word scrambles, these vintage word scrambles, I got in Maine this past summer. The address book paper I got in Montana this summer. This came from an estate sale. The vintage wallpaper is from Montana. When you're playing games, you gotta have snacks. And I have a little envelope, and in the envelope I've got more Milton Bradley money, this thing, I don't really know what it is, and another playing card, vintage playing card. This is from a score sheet from a careers game, and this has my mom's handwriting on it. I loved the game of careers when I was little, and my mom had her old one from like the 1960s, which is just awesome. Vintage typewriter paper. This is from a grade book. I picked this up at an estate sale this past spring. This is ephemera from a Vintage Life magazine, just a little subscription card. Red copy paper. And what little game night or game afternoon isn't complete without some party nuts and some candies? From a Jeopardy game, more word scrambles, another little playing card. This is some cardstock. This is from a Nancy Drew book, vintage ledger, a vintage postcard, typewriter paper, sheet music. This is from a vintage clue game score sheet. It's always nice to have a warm, hearty bowl of soup when you're playing a long game of Monopoly. While you were out, message sheet, an old vintage television ad. This is from a really old children's book. The other part of the Monopoly ad. Music paper, another Peanuts cartoon, a really old one, gift wrap. This is like a time card. I found these in my local Goodwill one day. Let's see, another Monopoly property deed, more word scrambles, a guest check, children's book page, copy paper, a little fold out. This is from an image from a vintage magazine, just a family spending time together. This is vintage stationery. This is a paper placemat. Another little recipe card. And this is the last. It is just an envelope, a vintage envelope, and I just, this was like the bottom of one of the offcuts of a score sheet. And then I've just tucked a recipe back here for Italian meatloaf. So, you know, it's not a super embellished journal. I'll probably go back and definitely do some embellishing, add some trims, add some fabric. Maybe I'll put a little dangle, maybe I'll add a little dangle. But I was just excited with the way it came out. I worked on it over a period of several weeks, just because, you know, it would be like one weekend at a time, a couple hours at a time. I'd be pulling pages for it and cutting papers. So I was just excited to finish it up, get it bound last weekend. But it, you know, I think it would make it more special if it had some trim and some other embellishments. So I will do that, but I was just excited to show it to you. So those are my little journals. I hope I can make, I'd really like to make another one like this with these cards and with this fabric and this paper, and ideally this cardstock as well, although I'm getting very, very low on this. But I love this one so much. I'm just so disappointed it came out uneven. So maybe tomorrow I'll do one of these. Anyhow, thanks so much for watching. I hope you're all doing well and having a lot of fun in your craft rooms and sitting at your craft table. Tell me what you've been working on in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.